Hello, everybody, and welcome to Diabetes Connections in the News. I'm so glad you're here. I am Stacey Sims, and each week I share the top diabetes stories and headlines of the past 7 days. Whether you're joining me live on Facebook or watching or listening after, I'm here to get you up to speed quickly on what's happening with diabetes technology, research, and a few fun stories from our community. Now, since these are headlines and summaries, as always, you're going to find all the sources and links in the Facebook comments and in the show notes at diabetes-connections.com. In the News is brought to you by Inside the Breakthrough, a new history of science podcast full of did you know stuff. All right, here is what's happening in the news this week. First, the annual ATTD conference is going on right now. That is the Advanced Technologies and Treatments for Diabetes conference. As it just started, we're probably going to get a lot more information from the tech companies in the next few days. Stay tuned on social for big breakthroughs and announcements, and we will wrap it up here next week. I've been taking a peek into a lot of the Twitter feeds and the news that's coming through today. So far, it looks like a lot of studies using continuous glucose monitoring and a lot of chatter about smart pens. So, again, we'll have more on that as it comes out. It just started today and it goes for a couple of days. All right, some good news if you ever need to be in the hospital for some reason. The American Academy of Clinical Endocrinology has new guidelines that cover use of continuous glucose monitors, insulin pens, connected pens, automated insulin delivery systems, telemedicine technologies, and smartphone apps. They also address safety considerations and special situations such as hospitalization. Now, that is really important because until now, there has been no official recommendation about letting patients handle their own diabetes management while in the hospital. So, could a CGM also continuously measure ketones? JDRF is supporting projects looking to develop that kind of device. Here is what they say in their request for letters of intent. Diabetic ketoacidosis, DKA, is a dangerous acute complication of T1D that is insufficiently addressed or even sometimes exacerbated by current therapeutic options. To fill this gap, JDRF invites applications to develop continuous ketone monitor or CKM functionality in continuous glucose monitor, CGM, devices. Now, as I said, this is a request, so we are at the very beginning of this, but wow, that would sure beat peeing on a stick. Got a follow up for you from last week in an FDA advisory committee gave the go ahead for the first drug shown to prevent type 1 diabetes for any length of time. Diplysimum will now go to the full FDA and could be approved in early July. Now, diplysimum isn't something that you can do at home. It's injections given over 2 weeks in an outpatient setting. The FDA doesn't automatically follow the advisory committee recommendations, may ask for more info or research. So we will keep following on that. A new National Institute of Health study aims to improve gestational diabetes screening and diagnosis by better understanding blood glucose levels throughout pregnancy. And during pregnancy, there are changes in glucose metabolism, but the details of these changes are pretty much unknown. The Glycemic Observation and Metabolic Outcomes in Mothers and Offspring study, or GO MOMS, will use CGM to study more than 2,000 women in their first trimester. This is a follow up study to HAPO, which isn't quite as fun a name, that looked at high blood sugar during pregnancy. All right, Tidepool is adding some data to their long list. They're adding Control IQ. If you use Tandem's T-Slim X2 pump with Control IQ technology, you can now view all of your data, including all of the unique hybrid closed loop events in your Tidepool account. Tidepool is awaiting FDA approval on their own loop system, and they also launched a unique and, in my opinion, much needed period project recently to start tracking how menstrual cycles affect blood sugar in people with diabetes. All right, do you have a diabetes tattoo? News on who's looking for it coming up. But first, a quick break. I want to tell you about one of our great sponsors who helps make Diabetes Connections possible. Inside the Breakthrough is a podcast that mixes historical wisdom with modern insight. It is a science show that's also entertaining. I have loved it this whole first season. The latest episode talks about scientists who knew they were onto something, but needed to see things with their very own eyes. How actually seeing something like a kraken makes a huge difference. It also meant a name change for what some thought had only been a myth. And this actually does relate to diabetes. Listen to Inside the Breakthrough wherever you listen to podcasts. All right, back to the news. And Indy driver Conor Daly led the most laps in the recent Indy 500, but another car's crash took him out of the lead. Daly lives with type 1. He was diagnosed at age 14. Another driver left his pit before the fourth tire was secure. When it rocketed around the track, the tire rocketed. It crashed into Daly's car. He wasn't hurt, took him out of the lead. Connor drives the number 20 Mankind Chevrolet. Yes, the makers of Afrezza, the inhalable insulin, are his sponsors. And from this week's podcast episode, if you have a diabetes tattoo, Banting House wants to see it. I spoke to the curator of the museum known as the Birthplace of Insulin. That's where Dr. Frederick Banting woke up with the idea that led to that great discovery. They are starting an exhibit of ink and insulin, and they want to see your diabetes related tattoos. Of course, that link and all the others in the Facebook comments and in the show notes at diabetes-connections.com. And that is Diabetes Connections in the news. If you like it, please share it. And feel free to send me your news tips, Stacey at diabetes-connections.com. Please join me wherever you get your podcasts for our very next episode. On Tuesday, you will hear from college students ready to graduate or already there, what they want young adults and their parents to keep in mind. We're going to talk about lots of really important things for your college student, for your young adult, everything from using disability services to what to do when a professor says you can't, to starting out in the workforce. Thanks. And I will see you then.